Supply chain resilience continues to be tested by a range of factors, from COVID and geopolitics to extreme weather and container shortages. To explore the causes and solutions, we're joined by Timmons, National Association of Manufacturers President and CEO. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So as we see there, this convergence of issues that are really pressuring supply chains right now. How did we get to this point?
Well, I think there's a confluence of events that happened over the course of the last 2 years. Clearly, COVID changed operations for all businesses all over the country, and certainly manufacturing operations. We did everything we could to keep up during that critical time. In fact, if you remember back 2 years ago at the NAM, we were not only sounding the alarm bell about PPE and production of PPE, we were also very concerned at that time about the food supply chain. Now, we got through that. That was a very difficult period. But clearly now we're seeing a lot of problems with the supply chain. You can back that up, Rochelle, to the fact that we pumped lots of money into the economy, a ton of money, and a lot of folks weren't able to spend that money. They were literally sitting at home, and now they're starting to spend all of that money. It's being pumped into the economy. That's leading to inflation. That's leading to, I think, a false sense of security from some people that they don't have to go back to work, or maybe they can put that off. Add to that 1.6, I believe, million folks with long COVID can't go to the workplace now. We had a number of people who died from COVID who were in the workforce. All of those factors together have led to this unfortunate series of economic events that we have to just work through over the next several months.
Hey, Jay, it's Shauna. It's good to see you. I know you sent a letter to congressional leaders earlier today, in fact, and one of the recommendations, you wanted them to prioritize supply chain and the issues associated with that. It's interesting because we were talking to Bob Nardelli earlier this week. He's the former CEO of Home Depot, former CEO of Chrysler, and he was basically saying that supply chain has almost caught every company off guard. He doesn't see it getting any better, and he thinks we're in for a long, rough patch. Do you agree? And I guess how long do you see this potential slowdown here and challenges with supply chain remaining?
So, Shauna, the supply chain issues are not going to go away tomorrow. There's no way that will happen. You referenced the letter that our head of policy and government relations, Eric Newhouse, sent to the conferees today, and it outlined the urgency of the situation. If we look at what's in that legislation, or has the potential to be in the final legislation, there is a $45 billion fund for supply chain resilience. That is incredibly important. There's another $52 billion for what was once called the CHIPS Act to supercharge semiconductor fabrication here in this country. We are getting outcompeted right now by the rest of the world, especially China. And the way we can overcome that is to put aside all partisan differences, get this bill passed in a way that is going to help the economy. There are things in that bill that are very important, like miscellaneous, the component that used to be called miscellaneous tariff bill, which will help manufacturers be competitive. There's also some things that needs to go away, like card check, which I understand the political reasons for putting that in the House, but it needs to go away. And I think the conference will do that. There's a lot of other really good provisions in there that will help get us through this very difficult period. But again, it's not going to solve it tomorrow. And one of the biggest problems we have, Shauna, is that before the pandemic, we had 500,000 jobs open in manufacturing today. And you and I have talked about that many times, actually. Mm-hmm. Today, we have 850,000 open jobs. Today, however, we're not just trying to attract people, the next generation, into manufacturing. We're now competing with every other sector that has a workforce shortage. And so we're the sector that actually makes the things that need to get on grocery shelves and to also supply, other goods that people want to buy.
So then when you keep in mind what you've said there about the number of job openings there, and you're also saying we're seeing that the NAM expects manufacturing disruptions to continue into 2023. When you add those factors together, what are the longer term implications for the economy?
Well, you had a guest on earlier. Actually, you've had a couple of guests talking about kind of the reaction of the markets to some of the earnings announcements that have happened. And I think what you're seeing is a slight slowdown in purchasing. And I hate to say, but I'm old enough to remember 1979 to, or 1977 to about 1983, and how inflation really disrupted the economy then. And it really was simply a matter of getting fiscal policy under control and also monetary policy under control. Those two things together add to inflation. Those two things together can disrupt the job market. And of course, we know COVID significantly disrupted the job market. But all of those things will start to work out of the system. And I think we have to be patient. I think we are unfortunately paying for what we experienced the last 2 years, including and certainly we supported this, but putting so much on the table when it came to fiscal policy. We pumped a lot of money into this economy. And so now that's catching up. That's causing inflation. The fact that we don't have the workers that we need is causing the problems in the supply chain, because we just don't have enough people to make the things that folks want to buy. That will work its way out, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Hey, Jay, I want to bring up a tweet that you just posted only a few hours ago, and it's in regards to the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act. And it's interesting because you're saying that the price gouging legislation does nothing to address affordable and reliable energy. It only adds additional regulatory red tape. What would you like to see included, or I guess what would you like to see Congress prioritize?
So we need to develop more in this country. You know, we were in a period where we were becoming, and in fact, some would have argued at the time that we were becoming energy independent here in this country. And that's really an amazing, not only aspirational goal, but when it became a reality, I think we saw the benefits of that. Look, manufacturers use a third of the nation's energy supply. So we need affordable energy. We need to make sure that the cost inputs coming into manufacturing are not causing us to drive up our prices or making it difficult for us to produce the things that folks want. If we would open up more areas for development, if we would expedite permitting and expedite the regulatory process, we would go a long way toward reducing the cost of energy in this country. And by the way, I'm not just talking about oil and certainly natural gas. Natural gas is clearly the bridge to the future that we need if we're worried about carbon and carbon output. But I'm also talking about alternative sources of energy, including nuclear energy, which frankly we've just let slide in this country. But it's safe now. It is highly effective. It is highly affordable in the long term, and we need to start developing that energy source as well.